Gnomes? How about auto-gnomes? Stone golem? Try radioactive golem who unwittingly poisons all nearby living things but desperately wants to know true friendship. Yes, Spelljammer, the nautical space-themed setting of 2E D&D, is weird. And it's coming to 5e with all these weird monsters. There's 10 free ones in the new Monstrous Compendium on D&D Beyond. That actually includes an important Easter egg we'll talk about at the end of the video. But there are 50 monsters in the 1990 Spelljammer Monstrous Compendium on the DM's Guild, with classic illustrations, tons of inspiring lore, and what is up with these stat blocks? Armor class -1? So we're going to scroll through these weird 2E Spelljammer monsters and share some simple ideas for bringing them into 5e. Because I'm Bob, this is where we learn how to have more fun playing D&D together, and this first monster is actually not that weird. It's like an evil plant race. We hear a lot about that in today's times, how just having an evil race of people, even though these are like plant people, is like a little bit lazy. However, they are kind of cool. Again, they are nomadic vegetables. I feel like maybe a druid would be a little conflicted about fighting off these guys. But since this is our first one, I do want to take a good look at the stat block here just to give you a sense of how you can run some of these guys in 5e. We start off with some ecological type of information. Climate and terrain, any. So these guys are crossing space anywhere. It's not clear if they actually need the sun to survive because they're considered omnivores here. But they are rare to find in any case. One bit of neat information that I do really like is it says you'll always find these warriors in a group of either 10 to 100. So you could roll 10d10, I guess, to find out your number every time you're going to face them. That's pretty interesting. But here's the important stuff. Armor class of 6. Sounds really low, right? But that's because, as you are probably aware, AD&D uses descending armor class, where low numbers are actually better, but with a 6, we're really looking at an AC of around 13, because a general rule of thumb that I've heard is 19 minus their old AC. That's definitely not what they did for some of these creatures that we're going to see in here that were republished in the new Monstrous Compendium. So, of course, that's a good starting point, and then you can kind of make it whatever you want, because that's what the professionals did too. And a movement of 6, I believe that means their speed's going to be about 30 feet. If anything, maybe more like 20 for these guys, because I think 10 is like your average speed. And maybe the last important thing that we'll point out on this stat block, then we'll move to a new creature, is that our hit dice of 2+1, I'm pretty sure, means they have 2d8 hit die, therefore that'd be an average of like 9 or 10 hit points total. Now in AD&D, 10 hit points was still pretty dang good, so this guy might have anywhere of around like 50 hit points, but probably somewhere between like 30 and 60. The albari are a race of magical bird-like creatures that are equally at home in wild space, or the phlogiston. I still don't know how to pronounce that. I'm pretty sure we don't need to worry about the word phlogiston though, because I think it's just being replaced with the astral sea in the new Spelljammer. They're dedicated to the cause of chaos and seem to exist for no other reason but to throw other beings' lives into unrest. You could take that a really edgy direction, Agent of Chaos style, but I see these guys as being pretty goofy. Like, they're weird bird people with, as written, an almost human face, 3 to 4 feet tall. So like this is like borderline playable race right here. But avoid physical combat whenever possible. If forced into physical confrontation in the air, they attack with their 2 taloned feet, which cause 1d3 points of damage each. How interesting. And also interesting to note how you'll see there is combat information muddled into all the lore in these stat pages. So really, I commend all of you 2E Dungeon Masters who had to find what you needed on the fly in combat using one of these pages. And the Ancient Mariner, clearly created by a poet. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner? I don't remember who wrote it. Chaotic Evil. That's fun. And look at that art. That slobbery guy. But there's another guy near the end of our list here that's similar but way more interesting. So we're just gonna move on. The Argos. Kind of an oozy, covered in mouths and eyes. You know, we get that. It can extrude several pseudopods, each tipped with a fanged maw, or toothy maw, if you will. This could be cool, but this is still kind of like run-of-the-mill eldritch horror. We're here for the extra weird stuff. Here we go. But maybe my favorite, because it is most appropriate for something named in the 1990s, is the BLAZOZOID. It is a huge spherical body consisting entirely of fiery plasma gas. So basically, it is a living comet. And like I was saying, this is where things start to get interesting. It's a gargantuan creature, 30 feet in diameter, but 15 hit dice. Again, for 2E, 15 hit dice is insane, and it makes sense. It's a gargantuan creature, but it just gets better. Blazozoids are the progeny of a huge living star. Like the blazozoids themselves, this star consists of living energy. Unfortunately, this star, which refers to itself as I, does not recognize material beings as alive, much less intelligent. Therefore, it believes itself to be the only sentient being in the universe. To determine whether this is true, I has formed millions of emissaries from its own body and dispatched them to the far ends of the universe in search of another living star. And it even says they're incapable of altering the basic beliefs that I has imprinted on them. So this is a causeless, living comet that shoots through the universe. If you encounter this thing, I don't know how you get away from this. And that is something cool. That is a unique challenge for sure. And it's called the BLAZOZOID. Come on. All right, the chatter. This is a small mammal that exhibits both traits of primates and rodents. So, I mean, just looking at the imagery here, it's kind of like a buff lemur without a tail. And honestly, do you not see this as just like an awesome animal companion that would be so cool to have around a ship, like swinging from mast and rigging and sails? That would be so fun. Oh yeah, and they even have this cool nickname, Space Bandits, because they kind of look like raccoons with their weird little eye mask thing. Now the Clockwork Horror, this is one that's already in the newly republished Monstrous Compendium on D&D Beyond, but this has multiple versions. That just has one version. This has a copper one, silver one, electrum, gold, platinum, and adamantine. And the stats of the new one don't really reflect any single one of these, although it does describe them as being made of adamantine. They just want to kill things, find metal parts, and replicate themselves. Great for some sort of mechanical infestation of a ship. That also feels very Spelljammer to me. And the Colossus might be one of my favorites because he's just a tall and extra wide man. These dim-witted giants are 60 feet tall and weigh 70 tons. That's 140,000 pounds, 35 hit dice. So actually that's way more than the comet. Yeah, they wear heavy, coarse clothes, usually a tunic, breeches, and sandals. Crude though it is, the tailoring is much too fine for any colossus to have stitched it. So that's interesting. I wonder where their clothes come from. That's a fun quest hook. An interesting bit of ecology here. No one has ever seen a sick colossus or seen one die from anything other than injuries. Oh, and they're herbivores. I did not notice that before. So that's pretty fun. Even though a lot of these monsters have more detailed ecology than you'll find in 5e, there's missing pieces, and that makes them more mysterious, more wondrous, and more fitting for this wide, expansive multiverse that Spelljammer is trying to bring back into D&D. Okay, the Delphinid looks like maybe the monster we should have gotten instead of that, what was it called? The Dolphin Delighter in Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse. I really like how they have trilateral symmetry. That's pretty cool. That's like a unique feature I've never heard of for any living or fictional creature before. And despite how creepy they look in this art piece, they're chaotic good. If a sailor falls off deck, dolphins have been known to carry them back to the ship. And if they're feeling particularly frisky, they may even give a sailor a joyride. Anyway, let's go a little faster now. The aesthetic is a biological symbiotic creation of the Rygar, who are basically like Spelljammer elves. But again, this is like a cool thing that makes sense in Spelljammer, like giant jellyfish organism that is also a ship. I like it. Almost as good as this other giant jellyfish organism, the Phocoid, which appears as three very difficult to see, almost invisible, gelatinous spheres joined in a short chain. They literally form themselves into giant lenses that focus, get it, Phocoid, that light into a super powerful laser. It's listed that there are bounties up to 500 gold pieces for every Phocoid carcass brought in, because these are obviously very dangerous to have around ports. And the FRACTINE, I kind of hate to gloss over this, but I'm going to because it's one in the modernized supplement. But they are literally two-dimensional, mirrored trapezoidal planes. At rest, they resemble vast mirrors. They can literally be used, like allow themselves to be used for scrying, and they can capture creatures within their weird two-dimensional plane. So this is what I'm talking about, and I'm so glad that this one has already made it into 5e. Like, this is weird. I've never seen anything like this. Let's check out the Radiant Golem. This is another one of my favorite creatures in here, and just get some of this lore. The Radiant Golem is a unique creature that some claim is as old as the race of elves, gnomes, and dwarves. And as you can see here, its special attack is a death aura, but the golem does not know about its death aura and will not understand or believe in the aura if told of its existence. Aware that it is almost immortal, the golem simply assumes that living things die very quickly. In fact, the golem often bemoans the fact that fate has made mortals so fragile. All at once, as it will tell adventurers, is a friend. If that is not some epic space tragedy, I don't know what is. All right, let's just get a couple more here. We got the Gravislayer, a navigational hazard hated by spelljammers. Its body resembles a sphere of flesh roughly 6 feet in diameter. It only has a giant mouth, and it does this really cool thing where it can change gravity by targeting a single object or living being and making them a powerful gravitational source that literally, like, it gives you these little tables for all these pebbles, boulders, or planetoids that will be attracted to your character. This is a wild creature. This is some Spelljammer stuff. Unlike these weird apes that just wear flashy shirts, that's ridiculous, and I find it too ridiculous personally. And the giant space hamster. But here we get several varieties: the subterranean giant space hamster, saber-tooth, the rather wild giant space hamster, invisible, sylvan, miniature, armor-plated, yellow musk, ethereal, carnivorous, two-headed, the great horned giant space hamster, the abominable giant space hamster, the Tyrannohamsterus rex, weighs 75 tons. That's more than the colossus wide guy. And the giant space hamster of ill omen, possibly legendary creature, is an individual rumored to be of unusual size, even larger than a Tyrannohamsterus rex. Woolly Rupert, as he is known among gnomes. Gnomes everywhere fear the wrath of Woolly Rupert, though they laugh nervously and claim otherwise. So yes, some of these make the most sense for space, but some of them can really be used for any D&D setting. Much like our longtime sponsor, Describe, an online library of descriptive scenes for monsters, places, characters, items, spells, and more that are way easier to search on the fly than a 2E stat block. There's over 7,000 scenes, cool interactive maps, and you can unlock some of that for free through the link below so they know who sent you, or get everything and save 10% when you sign up with the coupon code BOB. Alright, and we still have a bunch of creatures, so let's just hit some of the top ones that I cannot not show you. The Jammer Leech. These are barnacle-like immature Kragans. I don't know what a Kragan is, but basically it's this weird tentacle with an eye and a spiky little tongue on it that literally latches onto a ship and slowly siphons magical spells, specifically spells, away from the caster who is controlling the Spelljammer ship. This is a very AD&D thing where you can kind of lose or forget spells, but I like it. 5e needs something like this. I don't really think they'll do it, but I want it. The Lumino are these vast, diaphanous creatures that inhabit the flow. Some sages liken them to giant mantas of earthly seas, and to others, they are like white cells gliding through the lifeblood of the cosmos, filtering potential impurities. That's really cool, but by potential impurities, they mean levels from your characters as they accidentally pass through these things they cannot see. So this is another nautical hazard, you could say, but basically like a trap. Usually does not intend to kill its captives, it drains them to a minimum of level 1. The Lutum, or Mud Woman. In their true form, the malicious Lutums appear to be amorphous beings of tan gelatinous clay that move by rolling, able to sculpt themselves into bipedal and quadrupedal forms. With few exceptions, they choose humanoid female shapes. The best part, and by best I mean worst, it is just kind of like, it's kind of cringe. I have no choice but to laugh at it. The Lutums have learned that imitating attractive women rather than plain ones or males helps them further their goals. Wow, how far we have come. Can you imagine if that were published today? Oh man. The Missy, or Misi, which does not exist in 3 of the 4 dimensions that humanoids are capable of sensing. They have no physical manifestation in terms of length, width, or height. Instead, they exist solely in the 4th through 6th dimensions. So they cannot be injured by any physical form of attack, but they can be affected by magic. And they feed on magical emanations and are therefore attracted to spelljamming ships. When Misi attach themselves to a ship, the ship drops out of spelljamming speed and is stranded until the Misi finish feeding. The Rogue Moon is a huge gargantuan, only if it gets within 30 feet of prey. It suddenly increases its size tenfold. As it enlarges, the Rogue Moon sucks smaller prey toward it. Oh man, this is literally Kirby. We have the Murderoid. Man, now that's a name. So named by travelers because of their aggressive evil nature, perhaps the largest denizens of space. 1 to 600 miles in diameter, billions to trillions of tons. How is this? And 50 hit dice. This is actually ridiculous. This is just like you're fighting an asteroid. And it's called a Murderoid. Oh man, I'm getting spelljammed over here. The Flog Crawler. It's a phlogiston entity. Does that mean it's literally, it takes the form of a piece of the phlogiston. Phlogiston? I still don't know how to pronounce that. To see a flog crawler is to be attacked by a flog crawler. Have no other diet than the life energy of living creatures. That's terrifying. And the Slinker. Not last, and not least either. This would be my favorite familiar for wizard characters in Spelljammer. It's just such a creepy, disgusting little, fat little rat bird. Look at its wing. The art looks like it was just roasted in a fire. They come in packs of 1 to 20. That's adorable. That's a special little guy right there. Okay, Asteroid Spider. This is in the new one. It's super cool. It's a 10-legged rock that will eat your whole ship. Spirit Jam. The soul of an evil cleric or wizard who died while spelljamming. Oh, that seems like the subject of a prog rock story album. Okay, and the Survivor. This is one that is the cooler version of our Ancient Mariner. High-level, intelligent humans or demi-humans or humanoids that are trapped in a state of suspended emanation for many years, often centuries, sometimes longer. Their alignment is listed as neutral good, but it literally says that their only desire is sensory input, which it has been starved of for so long, and it will do anything to get it. That is a creepy motivation, and I really like it. And what it does is it literally mind controls everybody on a ship, starting with the least intelligent. This could be a great plot hook, finding this lone guy just floating through the astral sea, and then you bring them on board, and you don't know at first, but they're slowly taking over the minds of everyone on board. That's really cool. And the Symbiont might be my favorite. It is this magic sucking, so not just spells, but literally will drain the magic out of magic items, parasite. Alright, several weeks ago I posted this video with my predictions about what would be the next new D&D setting. I briefly mentioned Spelljammer because it was obviously coming back, just like Dragonlance, but they're not new. They're being republished, maybe with some little changes. My 2 predictions for the new settings were major reworks and rebranding of Birthright or Dark Sun. And this 5e Monstrous Compendium on D&D Beyond includes the Nightmare Beast, a monster originally published in Dark Sun. And apparently its stats are very different, but I think we could be getting a planet in Spelljammer that is very much like the planet Athos of Dark Sun, but with a different name, some different lore, and if people like it, that could eventually become the new Dark Sun. But we'll see. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Check out that video for more evidence, and keep building.